Hi, I'm Daniel Piku, and this is a time-lapse recording of this drawing. I actually got the rendering in this one. I fixed my Camtasia problem. It took a little bit longer than the last one. Some poses that'll happen. Some poses are a little bit more complicated. She had a bit foreshortening in her leg, and the compression was pretty fun to design. You kind of want to design the compressions of the folds. You don't want too much the same shape, so you want to put some thought into them. Right here, I'm getting the gesture down. First, I establish the tilt of the head, and I get her pose. I try to get the foreshortening. I don't really. It depends on the drawing. I don't really mind if it's 100% accurate. I just really want to get the feeling of the pose, and I want to. I really want to focus on the compression of her pelvis and her rib cage. That's really important in this gesture. As fast as the gesture seems compared to the drawing, you want to spend a lot of time on it. It's the most important part of the drawing. Using the box right here for the pelvis to tilt it in space compared to a rib cage. Just kind of going in space a little bit. Just drawing the simple forms. There is a construction part of the drawing. I'm just making everything into simple forms. Fill it out where they are in space. A simple a simple paddle for the foot, a wedge shape. Placing the scapula where it's going to be sitting on the rib cage. On top of that, placing the cylinder for the horn. At the end of the cylinder, I draw a box shape to kind of show me where the condyles of the humerus are going to be sitting. That's where you're going to want to put the muscles for the forearms and kind of just show you where the bones sit in space. Usually when I draw the gesture on the computer, I'll draw it really small just so I can get the proportions in a good spot, and then I'll enlarge the drawing and draw on top of that gesture. That's where it goes down. Makes the work process a little bit easier. Just kind of putting a little bit more construction into that simple head. Eye sockets and establishing where the nose and the bottom of the lower lip, where that's going to be sitting. I'm starting to put muscles, starting to introduce anatomy on top of those simple forms. I go back and forth through layers because sometimes I'll change my mind on things. So it goes down multiple layers. And you go through the drawing more than once. You'll catch things that are wrong with it, and you'll also change your mind about stuff. Design the drawing a little bit better. I'm drawing off of a photo right now. I don't worry about. I don't copy the photo. I don't worry about it getting accurate. I just care about the drawing, final outcome of the drawing. I draw really very loosely. Kind of see how simple volumes work when you start putting anatomy on top of it. Now, the more tutorials, I'm gonna show you easy ways to draw a foot, simplifying the anatomy. It's really not that hard, but it'll still give you trouble. You don't understand. A little bit of trouble in this hand. Sometimes it's better after you struggle with a part for a little bit just to move on to another parts of the drawing. Because what you're doing, you're building. You want to try to get it right, but you're building up a whole drawing. Maybe at the end of the drawing, maybe no one can actually call you out on a bad hand drawing if the drawing as a whole works. But I'm stubborn. I keep chipping away at it. Hand's a little small. Should have. Proportions of the hand is about if you put the bottom of your palm to your chin, it should, assuming you have a full head of hair, your middle finger will line up with your hairline. That's about that's about the proportions. Maybe sometimes, it's a general thing. Maybe some women their hands are a little bit smaller than that. Put the eyeballs, and you want to not just draw the shape of the eyelids, but you want to construct the sockets of the eyes, and then fit the eyeballs inside the sockets, and then draw the lids on top of that. Kind of having trouble with the construction of the hand a little bit. It can be kind of confusing with the way the carpals fit into the radius, and you have the metacarpals. Some angles it's kind of hard to understand the construction. Here I pretty much got the anatomy. I'll go sit down and start cleaning up the drawing a bit. And I still feel free to change my mind about some parts of the anatomy. She had really curly hair, so I started kind of getting, I kind of start drawing it around the skull first, and then I start introducing some of those curls. I just play with the tone, and you can start picking stuff out top of the hair to can kind of give you the influence of she has curls in her hair if you play with the tones and the edges. The, the folds on that compression, they're not the what you would see in the photo. I changed it. Uh, Now that I look at it, I probably could have did a bit better job, but I really designed the way the folds were to better the drawing. I'll make more tutorials and explain that a bit, put that in a little more depth. So I kind of stepped away from the hands and I came back to it. A little bit better outcome. It could have been better. You kind of notice the way the rectus abdominis are stretching on the rib cage. The middle line of your rectus abdominis muscles, the way I kind of drew it, one line in front of the other, it gives it a little bit, it gives it depth. You want to do that for all of your anatomy. Put things on top of things. Here, that leg was compressing the vastus lateralis on her left leg. So it kind of, now that I look at it, now that I look at the final drawing, it kind of made her right leg look like it was broken or bent. Probably should have, I could have fixed it maybe by working with the straights a little bit more on her right leg, working with the bone and the darks to make it look more solid of a leg. I should have worked on it a little bit more. But it does give depth to your drawing. You want to put that compressions in the way the vastus lateralis on her other leg is overlapping. You still want it. I still need to put that stuff in there. I'll go sit down sometimes twice after a cleanup just to kind of design the line a little bit more because maybe sometimes I'll want darks in some areas, some anatomical areas, and let the actual line work go in some areas. That kind of it can really make something look like bone if you play with that sort of thing. Bone and muscles like the bulges and insertions where the muscles pull from. You can prevent things that look like they're broken. This part of the drawing it's kind of the easy part. After the gesture and the construction and designing the anatomy, just clean it up right now. Makes the rendering stage a lot easier. Sort of the fun part. There we go. What I'm doing here is where the core shadow hits, I'm just tracing over where the form is. I'm drawing the form where the core shadow is. And I'm gonna come back and I'm using it as a guide. If you want to actually do the rendering. This rendering I didn't focus on the modeling tone too much. It was just pretty much direct light. Using the direct light and the core shadow to explain the form. Kind of a faster way to render than to just focus on the modeling tone to model the anatomy. If you imagine the foot is just a basic paddle, you'll see that there's a light side and a dark side. And that's pretty much the way I thought of the foot. And a little cylinder for the big toe. You can think of that whole area as a cylinder going into a paddle. If you're drawing the other side of the foot, for the arch. For her hair, since it's curly, I threw in a bunch of tone. And I still had a light source for her. She had dark hair. So I'm thinking of the light source, and I'm just with a soft brush modeling it, rendering it, and then I'm gonna come back and pick out some of the curls, put some hard edges so your brain thinks that it's basically curly hair. So I render it as kind of a solid form first, and then come back and break it up to make you see hair. Just dropping tone in the shadow areas. Face was a little bit too harsh, so I'll come back and I'll fix it. But sometimes you don't know what's too dark and too light until you actually put a little bit of tone into the whole drawing, and I'll slowly build up the tones. After I got all the tone filled in, I'll come back and put in some of the darks in the core shadow. Put a little bit more tone into the cast shadow from the arm, give it a little bit more dimension. And up to where the armpit meets, the arm's closer to the rib cage, so I'll put in a little bit more tone there because there's a lot less light getting in between the rib cage and her arm. And as her arm leads further from her rib cage, I'll make it lighter. I'll make future videos explaining how I think about the anatomy. So I don't copy it, I design it. I'll show you what I mean by that in future videos. When you use your reference as a tool, but you shouldn't copy it. It's about making a good drawing. I don't put all of the anatomy in, especially for a soft woman. Now for a man too, I won't put all the. It depends. Depends on what type of drawing I'm doing. Here it was kind of more focused on the core shadow for rendering, so I didn't put. You use the anatomy. You don't be a slave to your anatomy. You use it for the design of the drawing. Deep cast shadow from where her legs, her vastus medius is being compressed, and her right leg is coming off of that a little bit. So I kind of, it's dark as it gets close to the other leg, and it gets lighter as it gets further. You want to save your darkest darks for last. Actually, you know what? You generally want to save your darkest darks for last, but sometimes I'll put, okay, how dark do I want to go? I'll put it somewhere in the drawing because it does. You start putting darker darks in there, it affects the whole drawing. Since the tones are relative, some of those subtle tones might turn out to be too subtle when you put the darker darks in. So somewhere in the drawing, I'll say this is how dark as I'm gonna get, and at the end of the drawing, I'll come back and start putting my darkest darks in it. If that makes sense. So here I'm playing with the hair. The hair is probably the funnest part of the drawing. Then do too much work to the face. This one would be a great portrait or something like that, but for a whole figure drawing, I think it does the job pretty well. Don't be afraid to leave stuff out. It makes the drawing better. I try to get at least one of these tutorials out at least once a week. I'm gonna have different topics, different material, like more in depth about the gesture and anatomy, drawing hands, heads. So if you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a like. Share it with your friends that are studying art, and see you in the next video.